Happy New Year, everybody. Dark Narrator here, back with a video that I haven't done one of these since I hit 100 subscribers, actually, which if you can check the sub count now, that was quite a ways out from, now. We are almost at 1,500, I think, somewhere along those lines. It's in the mid 1400s, which still is fucking stop. Oh, well, don't stop, but still, I'm eternally grateful for that. But I haven't done one of these since 100 subscribers, and I think I did one afterwards for a live stream, but it didn't really go too well. Like, it didn't really feel like a Q&A, so I wanted to sit down and make an actual video again like I did for 100 subscribers for the new year, because the last one I did was in January of last year, January 20th. There's still a difference, but I still wanted to do one. So without further ado, let's get right into this. So I asked you guys on Twitter and YouTube to drop me some questions down below, and then I would answer pretty much all of them within reason, if it wasn't too personal. So here we go. So the first question we have is from my buddy, Deadline Podcast. I have a real question for you. When are you going to pop the question to your girl? And when you do, can I be the flower girl, and can I host it live on the podcast? Well, here's the thing. There's two things that my girlfriend and I, which if you guys don't know, is anime. In the comment section or in the live chats or just in the horror community in general, Anime Atome is my girlfriend, or Blue Ain't Your Color on Discord. Is my girlfriend, and we have decided that kids are off the table 100%. We are just not in the mood for that type of shit. It's nothing against people who want to have kids. It's just our own personal preference. Marriage is not completely off the table. I think we both stated that, but it's definitely not something that has to happen, and we know that, and we're totally cool with it never happening. But I don't know, I would like to see her walk down the aisle. I'm not saying that it's a definite possibility, because it doesn't really matter as long as you're with that person and you love that person. I don't think marriage to me doesn't really make it extra. I feel like the love you give someone physically and mentally, that's how you show the level that you're on. So marriage doesn't really, set that for me. It's what I personally believe, and I think she feels the same way. So if we ever do, of course you could be the flower girl and host it live on the podcast. At that point, we would probably be making money off the podcast. So technically, you would be monetizing my wedding. Yes, of course. Why not? Anyways, that was question number one, and thank you, Deadline, for it. Next question is from Donovan Edwards, and he asked, have you ever done audiobooks or considered doing them? I actually have considered doing audiobooks, but it's a very daunting task. It's not just sitting down and reading a book. It's so much more than that. If you fuck up a line, you got to redo it, and you have to be in total consideration that you are getting paid to do this thing, and you don't obviously want to fuck up. So it's so much more frustrating that way. And the book probably will go on for 600 pages, and you have to narrate all 600 of those pages. That just sounds like a lot of work, and I just don't know if I'm into it right now. It just sounds like a lot more of a stressful thing that I just don't want to deal with right now. But I have considered doing audiobooks, but no, I have never done an audiobook. Thank you, Donovan, for the question. Next one is Stacy Scotty, big supporter of the channel. Hey, Stacy, how you doing? Will you marry me? Just joking. What is your biggest fear? My biggest fear, if we're talking about just normal fears, I have thalassophobia and arachnophobia, which I answered this, I think, in the last Q&A I did for 100 subscribers. So I'm going to go off of a different thing. My worst fear is just not being good enough, I guess. Just like trying my hardest constantly and like working my ass off, and then having a thought in the back of my mind. I'm like, what if those people aren't actually as thoughtful as they seem? Like, for example, when I go to work and I feel like I bust my ass, I feel like in the back of my head, I feel like I'm not doing enough, and I feel like other people are thinking the same thing. So I end up asking them, and it gives me like this weird confrontation thing. But that would probably be my biggest fear, just not being good enough after just constantly trying to reassure myself that I'm working hard. That's usually what gets me pretty like gets my anxiety going a lot. Thank you, Stacy, for the very deep question. And the next question we have is from Foxy, and she asks, "What is the creepiest moment that you have ever experienced in real life?" Well, so the closest thing I can ever come to creepy was something that I didn't really remember until digging very, very deep into my subconscious. So this was a couple years back, maybe like 2015. This was before my friend Chris, who lived in my community, moved away. And me, Chris, and another Chris were walking at night. We usually did this a lot during the summer because, there wasn't really anything around. The bear around here haven't come out yet. So even if they did, the bear over here are huge pussies. My grandma has scared them off before. So we didn't really even care. So we're walking and we're doing a usual like route around the community and just enjoying, the nighttime air or whatever. And we started going down like side streets, which we used to do a lot, but we started going down ones and like just tangling ourselves more in the community. We know how to get out of every side street, but we didn't walk them at night. Not for any particular reason, we just didn't think to. So we wanted to change it up, and we walked down this random side street at night. And so me and the two Chris's, I'll call CR is the one that I used to hang out at his house. That was the one I was originally talking about. CL is another one. That would be the other Chris, and I was walking with him. CR was kind of trailing behind a little bit. So me and CL were talking, and we were walking, and CR was on his phone, and he was just, doing whatever. And we get to this part of the street that's like completely cut off by darkness. Like the street lights should be able to shine into this part, but I guess it was the trees that just made it like look like if you stepped into this part, you'll like go to another dimension. It was that dark. It was like night and day. For some reason, this street was like cut in half by like shadows. It made no sense. And this is not me trying to over-exaggerate. I really don't know how it looked the way it did, but it was like a perfect line cutting the street in half. Of course, it went past the road, but that's what I mean. So me and CL, we're walking ahead of CR. So we stop right at the line of the shadow, and there was something on the other side. Like I don't know if it was an animal or something paranormal, but we heard like breathing on the other side of it. And me and CL looked at each other. We didn't say shit. We just fucking ran. So there was something. We also left CR, and he was so confused. He's like, "Why are we running?" He thought we were joking, and then we ran like 2 blocks, and I think he realized after 2 blocks that we weren't joking. He thought we were lying, but just to make like a quick gag. But I can probably ask the Chris that got scared with me about it, and he'd probably say the same thing. We both heard the same thing. I know that because we both looked at each other at the same time and ran. So there was something on the other side of that. I don't know if it was a person, an animal, or something paranormal, but that was one of the creepiest experiences I've ever had. I actually felt like I was running from something, and I'd never actually had that happen before. I guess I blocked that out of my subconscious because it was so spooky. But thank you, Foxy, for the question. That made me delve deep into my brain and find something I never actually really talked about afterwards, because now that I think about it, I never actually addressed it to anybody else besides those 2 people. So, thank you, Foxy, for the question. Next question is from Lady Spookaria, and she asked, "What were the hardest things about starting out on YouTube? Do your family know about it? If so, what do they think about it? First things first, my family does know that I do YouTube, and they're totally okay with it. They respect it, and they actually like enjoy the fact that I have something that makes me happy. My family have been big supporters of my YouTube channels for years, but only recently have they really started taking it seriously because I have like deadline that I really crunch down on. They know not to bother me on Sundays at certain times, and like, you know, they're taking it more seriously, and they know it's a part of my life. So yeah, they're cool with it. I don't know if they really understand it. I know my uncle's really into it. And he thinks it's really cool that I'm doing it. My little brother thinks it's really cool that I'm a YouTuber. And yeah, it's just that. The hardest thing about starting out on YouTube is the daunting realization that you have no fucking idea what you're doing. And you never really figure it out. At least from my perspective, I've never really figured it out. There's always something new that you never really thought you knew until it comes face to face and hits you like a ton of fucking bricks. But I've had a lot of realizations like that, and I constantly do. Even though I've been on the platform since 2012, I still know jack shit about how it works. There's a lot of people who do know how it works and how to use the system to their advantage to, you know, get bigger faster. It used to just be about luck, but there's an algorithm to everything now. So you have to really know. So you can, you know, if you want to get bigger, you do get bigger because you know how to, you know, work with the system to make yourself bigger. And a lot of people know that. I don't. But it doesn't really bother me. The other hard thing is realizing that numbers are going to take forever to go anywhere. There is going to be a period of your channel where you're just constantly slowly gaining subscribers, and then for months on end, just no growth at all, and no comments and no likes. You can go 8 months to 2 years without actually ever growing to a size where people are actually commenting on your channel. And that's what was happening with me for years on my other channels. It took me 8 months, I think, to get, no, less than that. It took me like 5 or 6 months of my channel to actually get some sort of traction. And it took me about 2 or 3 months to actually get some comments. But I didn't actually start getting likes until about 6 months in, after I collabed with Horror by Numbers. So that's also probably the bigger than the last one, is that you have to really be patient and just keep grinding, and eventually stuff will come to you, and it'll be very rewarding. It'll be a very great feeling. But you have to realize when you start that those numbers are probably not going to go up for a very long time if you don't know already how to make them go up. Like what I said before, like there is people who know how to use the algorithm. They know the proper tags. They know how to promote themselves so that they can get bigger. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you should do it. It's just I don't, because I don't know how, and I don't really care to know. I kind of just do this to do it. So getting somewhere with it is cool, and it would be awesome if I did, but I'm just going to wait for it, and I'm not going to really grind for it. I'm just going to grind in my own personal way. But that's something you do have to realize, is that if you don't know how to do that, numbers are going to go up very slow. But as long as you keep grinding, you are going to get what you've always wanted. So, yeah. Thank you, Lady Spookaria, for the question. So, the next set of questions is from my lovely girlfriend. She is Sexy Beans on Twitter. She has a plethora of things to ask me, and I'm going to go through all of them because I love her. If the meaning of life is cheese, what cheese is it? It's probably Swiss. I like Swiss. It's probably my favorite type of cheese, so I'm going to go with Swiss. Apples or pears? Apples. I don't really like pears that much. How do you wash lettuce? Lettuce is actually very easy to wash. You just cut the end off, and then if you're only just getting the leaves, which I don't know why you would be, you're usually using it for salad. So I'm going to go the way of, if you were making like a thing of romaine into a salad, you would first cut down the middle, so like you're slicing it in half, but don't slice from the butt of the lettuce, just slice from the end of the butt to the top, and just cut it in half, and then you would chop the end off, and then you would and then just dice the rest of the lettuce. So after you cut it in half and you butt it, you can then just slice it horizontally, and then you're good. Vertically, sorry. And then it makes like little bits, and then you just throw that in a strainer and you wash that, and there you go. Regular lettuce is the same way. You just chop it up and you wash it. It's not much to it. Star Wars or Star Trek? I'm a Star Wars fan. I don't really mind Star Trek, but I don't think it's as interesting as Star Wars. Kill me, whatever. Pringles or Lay's? Very tough, because if we're talking about Lay's baked, that's my shit. Pringles, I love them so much, but Lay's baked probably gets me. So if we're talking about Lay's baked, definitely that. Subway or Chick-fil-A? That is very hard because I love them both very much. I don't think I can choose. I don't know. I would say Subway because it's more accessible to me. So I'm going to go with Subway, even though Chick-fil-A tastes fucking delicious. What languages do you want to speak? And Klingon doesn't count. What languages would I like to speak? I don't fucking know. I don't really have a want to learn any language. Maybe Latin. Just didn't know it. I don't know. It sounds cool. Should we learn to knit? I actually know how to knit, so you can learn how to knit, and I can show you. That could work. And then this is the second set of questions. I'm sorry, everybody. There's a lot. Simpsons, yay or nay? Simpsons is okay. I never really got into it. I was more of a Family Guy, American Dad, Futurama type of person. So and South Park. So Simpsons is funny, I'm sure, but I never really found the humor in it. Is competition healthy? Friendly competition, I feel, is healthy. Like proper competition, like using this to better yourself, like to figure out what your threshold is, and just grinding is probably the best type of competition. But an unhealthy obsession with competition is where it goes haywire. Like just doing something just for the sake of wanting to beat someone in every single instance, even when there is no competition going on. That's an unhealthy type of competition. But if you're just doing normal stuff, just in normal competition settings, like just having fun, it can still be competitive but also be fun. So that's where I think where it could be healthy. So yeah. Do you like ramen? I do, but I don't remember the flavors that I do. It's been a long time since I had them. Apple desktop or no? Apple desktop or no? Apple like Macs? They suck. I fucking hate them in every instance. I think they're overpriced, and you could pay $3,000 and still get the quality of a $400 PC. So no, I hate them. What time would you travel to? I would probably want to travel to the 60s because everything just seemed cheaper. I wouldn't have agreed with like the racism and shit, and like the whole segregative concept of it would have pissed me off. But in terms of the money, everything was being cheaper. Like if I could take money back with me and like I had it converted into like 60s money, I think I would be very well off. And I don't know. I think it would be cool. I just wanted to see it. I want balloons. Okay. You want balloons? No, she wants balance. Okay. Candy apple or caramel apple? Probably candy apple. I don't really like caramel that much. It's very sickening. Have you considered reading for audiobook 50 Shades of Grey? No, I don't like that book, but I do like that it started as a fan fiction for one of my favorite movies, Twilight. Weird Al? Sure. Weird Al's cool. Too many questions? Probably. Because I don't know how long that took, but we're at 18 minutes. So, yeah. Thank you, babe, for the questions. I love you. Tales to Chill the Bone, or Tales to Chill now because he changed his name. Of any collaborations that you have done, past or present, what was the most fun to partake in? If you count Mortis Media's like competition that we did with me, Fearcrawler, Raggedy Annsy Tunes, and Raven Reads, months back we all did a competition on his channel. We would send in the story, the narrations of the stories that he sent us, and each person would get their own 10 stories put into a video with him while he narrated 10 stories, and then those would be like the criteria for people to vote for. So we all had our own separate collaborations, and I think it was my favorite collaboration because you got to see just how all of these different people fight, like not fighting, but like working towards the same thing, trying to get another feature on this person's channel as like a main feature. And just the voting system was really crazy to watch, because I did win by a landslide. It was actually crazy how much more percentages I had. I don't want it to make it seem like I'm boasting, like, haha, I won, fuck you. But it was really crazy to watch, and just like the whole feeling of it was really cool. Like it felt like something I've never done before. So that, and probably when Swamp asked me to, do something for him recently, that was cool. Just having the ability to just talk to Swamp, and he's like, hey, you want to be on a video? And I'm like, that's cool. I like that. It's a cool feeling. I never thought I'd be, doing something like that. But yeah, Mortis Media was probably my favorite one. Thank you, Tales to Chill, for the question. Moving over to the last set of questions, and now we're on to YouTube. Tiffany Benefield, sorry. How old are you and where are you from? I am from Long Island, New York, and I am 21 years old, turning 22 in February. There's nothing else to say. Thank you, Tiffany, for the question. Next question on YouTube. Artzilla Aisha asks, who's the first narrator you discovered? Love your channel. You are awesome. Thank you. You're awesome. Thank you for supporting. The first narrator I discovered? Probably Mr. Creepypasta. I'm pretty sure that was like the first person I remember like religiously watching. I think that's probably who it was. I don't count Some Ordinary Gamers as a narrator. He used to narrate creepypastas, but not in the traditional narration format. It used to be like talking about the story rather than actually reading it. So I think Mr. Creepypasta was probably, from what I remember, the first person that I watched that was narrating. If you count Cryotic, he was also probably the first one. He's not a narrator per se, but he does have narrations. So the first set of narrations that I watched religiously was the Cry Reads thing on Cryotic's channel. But Mr. Creepypasta as a narrator, that was the first one. Thank you, Aisha, for the question. And the final question of the entire Q&A from As the Noose Titans. What or who got you into narrating? And do you have any upcoming big projects? The people that actually got me into narrating, it was actually like a culmination of a lot of different things over the years. For the Dark Narrator, it was Mr. Creepypasta, Corpse Husband, and Mr. Nightmare. They really inspired me. And if you check back on like the original videos on the channel, you can actually see that I had a Mr. Nightmare feel to my channel, and my narration style, I tried to mimic Corpse Husband because I was such a big fan of him. But Mr. Creepypasta, because like without Mr. Creepypasta, I wouldn't know what creepypastas even were. Like, he streamlined that shit for me. Some Ordinary Gamers and Mr. Creepypasta were probably the reasons I actually did narrating in the first place back in 2013. So we can probably say that Cry Reads, Cryotic, Mr. Creepypasta, and Some Ordinary Gamers were probably the reason that I even started narrating in the first place. But the Mr. Creepypasta, Corpse Husband, and Mr. Nightmare were the reason I started the Dark Narrator. So yeah. And do you have any upcoming big projects? I don't know if I would call it a big project, but I do have a series coming out on the 5th, and another one by the same person coming out probably a couple months later because I like to spread them out. And I think it's going to be really cool. I think it's a very well-written story. The guy has books written, so this guy's on Amazon. They're rated so good too. Like it's hard to find something like that for an indie book writer. So, especially self-published. So I'm excited to get into it. I have already recorded a couple parts for it, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So, that would be my big project. Thank you guys so much for being there for that entire year. 2019 was one of the best years I've ever had. I said this on the stream. But thank you so much for watching and, giving me all these questions. It was really cool. And yeah, I will see you guys on the 5th for the new series.